Welcome back to my channel. I'm Tanya Ray, and today we're doing a reading on lovebirds. I'm sorry, I just had to say that because there are so many birds. I'm actually recording outside at my cabin right now, so hopefully you're enjoying the sing-song in the background if you can hear it. But as I said, today is going to be what's coming next, and specifically who is coming in. So this is specifically for people who are looking for new relationships, or maybe know that the relationship they're currently in isn't their final one, for lack of a better way of saying that. And no judgment here, because every relationship lasts as long as it's meant to, and that's what it is. This is going to be a pick a card reading, as you have probably already guessed. So you are picking your adventure, you are picking your partner. Please do not make anything fit that does not feel aligned to you. These readings are meant to help you expand and to empower you to make forward movement in your life. That is the whole reason I do this, besides the fact that it is fun, right? So, with that said, please take a deep breath in, let it out, and tune into these three gorgeous decks right here. On the first one, we have a heart that is a goldstone or a sandstone. I've heard it referred to as both. It's obviously a blue goldstone. On our middle pile, group number 2, we have pyrite. And on group number 3, we've got rose quartz. So just tune in, don't second guess what the answer is, but usually it's the first one that you are drawn to. All right, if you haven't chosen yet, please go ahead and pause this to give yourself more time. But like I said, don't try to force yourself to come up with the answer. Whatever comes first, in whatever way, even if you can't make any sense of it, that's your intuition telling you everything that you need to know. It could be that you're drawn because you think that it's the most pretty deck, or maybe you sense, hear, feel, see, or just know something and trust it all. With all of that said, let's get started with group number 1. All right, welcome back, group number 1. This is who is coming in as a potential love interest or partner for you next. So, this first one is going to represent their energy, personality, something that represents them so that we can see who they are, okay? Ooh, this is interesting. Quite a good sign, actually, for those of you who are looking for something a little bit more serious, because we've got the Ten of Pentacles. And this, as a representative of a person, tells me that they are somebody who values tradition in a family to some extent. If you can see this picture, that's the dream for people who want a family, right? Now, this doesn't have to be the traditional family, of course. I feel like I don't have to say that, but just in case anyone's wondering, traditional in the sense of wanting to have a spouse long term, or a partner long term, raise some children, and or a dog, your pets, your fur babies, and really setting yourself up for life. They want stability. They value that, and that's what they're looking for. They want things to be able to grow, and it's about stability and it's about longevity. They might be somebody who works really hard to build a stable footing for themselves. And when I'm talking about that stability, largely when it comes to money and resources in that way, where they're building something that is going to be beneficial to themselves and their family and potentially generations down the road. They're probably a person that's very focused on that. Just to reiterate what I've already said, I'm already feeling like for group number 1, you are probably ready to settle down and find the one. And if you're not, keep in mind that this person likely is. There is a good chance that this is a relationship that ends in marriage, or should I say begins in marriage, meaning the new chapter. But this is likely a relationship that is going to be long lasting. Please don't make this fit, right? Just because I am reading on the person that you're going to meet next, and this is really exciting probably for most people to hear this, please don't, force something in a relationship that does not feel aligned to you. It's okay to have fun. It's not going to discredit that this person is there, okay? Even if it doesn't happen to be the next person. It just I had to go on that tangent because I never want somebody to take me for my word and shut themselves off from opportunities, as well as keep themselves in or entertaining relationships that actually aren't good for them. And you know that, right? If you look into your own heart on things. So never second guess that. But even when you're getting a personalized reading, don't ever make something fit to the point where it is a detriment to yourself. Again, like I said at the beginning, my whole point for reading cards is to empower you. So I never want somebody to be disempowered from the things that I say, whether it's in this style of reading or it's in a private reading. So, as I've already discussed to some degree, this person is likely very successful or focused on that. They really want to build that long lasting success, and this is largely for them around money or material things or physical things in this reality, like a nice home and a solid foundation and all of that wealth. Okay, we're talking about this person is probably wealthy or has a very high potential for creating that in their life. They are eager to create that for themselves. So sometimes they might be a little bit distant, I want to say, because they do value family, like I said, and they want to build that for their family or their future family. But sometimes that could be a detriment where they're so focused on building that they may not be always as present as you would like them to be. And that's not necessarily true, that's just something that's coming up. But that said, I always just want to show where there might be some challenges in the communication or in the relationship. But that said, like Ten of Pentacles as a person, as an energy, is very much about taking care of their own. So they want to take care of you. They want to commit and invest in the things that they do, including building that relationship. So this is somebody that is really looking for that. I want to say they get pleasure from being able to provide in that way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a man, but this is a very masculine energy. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if the person that's listening to this is trying to attract a male partner or somebody who's very deeply in their masculine energy, because this is a provider type energy and somebody who thrives on that. There's not going to be resentment for doing the hard work and putting a lot of investment in, because that's what they actually strive for. The downside potentially is I'm not feeling competition necessarily, but that if you're not willing to let them, you know, let them be the provider because maybe you feel guilt around that, or let them support you in the way that they know how, then there could be some resentment or some friction in the relationship. But otherwise, just to be clear, this feels really good as a partner. While pentacles are not necessarily fast moving because they're really about building strong and stable foundations and slow and steady gets the worm type of energy, I am feeling a sense that this relationship could feel like it's progressing fairly quickly, or that they start talking about the future pretty early on. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they are saying that they want that anytime soon, but just be mindful of that the conversations might come up really early on because they want to know if it's worth investing in, if you guys are on the same page. So I'm not feeling like this person is a casual relationship type. So if that's something more that you are looking for right now, then this person, it might be more of a, don't lead them on, make sure that you're telling them, but this could actually be a red flag for you, for those of you, if anyone is like, hey, I'm just here to have fun right now, and that's totally okay. Just make sure that you're being clear with them on that, especially if they're this type of person who is looking for a little bit more commitment, or they're all about investments. So if they're going to invest their time and energy on a relationship, they want it to have potential for being something more and being something like this. Also, intuitively, for some reason, I'm hearing that they might actually already have a child or children. I don't know why that's coming up. But let's look at what else do you need to know about this person first and this potential connection. Oh no, this is really interesting. We've got the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. And yes, I have shuffled the cards. Yeah, it's not a coincidence or just a lack of shuffling that we have the 10 and the 9 together here, but it is interesting. So, when I said earlier about the potential issue or the potential challenge, one of them with this person might be that they over invest in work. That's where I'm going with this Nine of Pentacles, what's coming in here. They might be very focused and actually over focused on the getting things done, the hustle mentality, the getting to the top energy, even. And the only reason, besides the fact that it could create barriers in connection and communication in a relationship, the only other issue that I'm seeing with this is that it feels very much like that's where their worth is tied in. And so, remember how I just brought up that a, another potential issue could be if you're not allowing them to be the provider, and they might take that really personally because their self-worth is so tied up in being able to provide and being successful, and especially successful when it comes to career and money and getting a return on their investments, right? On the flip side, the other thing that's coming up with these two cards is that it's possible that they overinvest in the relationship and things are a little bit too quick. So there will need to be, some diligence in having that conversation if that comes up for you and it's making you uncomfortable, or it just feels like things are moving a little bit too fast, because while that can be really exciting, it's not always a good thing for the longevity and health of the relationship to not allow for that time for you guys to get to really know each other. I can't reiterate enough that in regards to this other person, their self worth is so tied in this that they might actually be doing all of this work to prove themselves. Like, that is how they prove to you that they're worthy. So just really be aware of that so that you can have productive conversations about it and point it out in a compassionate and loving way if that were to happen. And there's a little bit of an energy imbalance here of maybe there's going to be a time where they either burn out or they're having a really hard time with being able to balance everything, balance their resources, and that could end up causing burnout. It could end up causing some resentment and things like that if they're not self-aware enough to see that. Now let's look at your energy in entering this relationship and just see how compatible it is. So this energy is for the people that I'm reading for right now. Wow. This is really interesting. So all pentacles, it's possible that you're both earth signs, or in your big three you have a lot of earth energy, so it doesn't necessarily have to be your sun sign, but you might both be very earth energy. Another thing that I didn't say about this person, I don't think, is they probably are very grounded. They might really give off that grounded energy. I guess I sort of said it with the stability stuff, but there's that, and it's probably a strong suit for you as well. What's really interesting about this is Seven of Pentacles can also be about this long-term view and being willing to put in the time and energy even when you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, because you don't actually see the fruits of your labor yet. So I'm seeing very similar energies between the two of you in group ones, you and the potential partner that's coming in, because all of these cards are also about investments and looking at things from more of a long-term perspective over the short-term gratification, which is really awesome. Again, the caution there is just making sure that it's for the right reasons and that you're not tying your worth into that, because that could be really problematic, especially if your person is also doing that. I'm also getting that it's likely that you both are at a space where you want to have those conversations. You want to know, is this does this have the potential for long term? And what would that potentially look like? Knowing or keeping in mind that we're always growing and changing. So it's not set in stone, but this type of energy that is representing you is the type of person that has probably the type of person that has a 5 or a 10-year plan. You're always looking into the future and planning for that and doing the work to get there. So, in case I'm not being clear, yes, these two energies do feel really aligned. One of you, you is willing to put in the work without necessarily having the goal of, more money and that kind of thing, but you're still looking for a return on your investment. And your person might be very career focused, very focused on specifically the money and building a strong foundation, a nest egg for you and your family, your future family potentially. So just keep in mind that things might start happening pretty quick. And also, this feels very, very traditional energy. Something very traditional about the commitment and the wanting family, wanting to expand the family in whatever way you see fit. Let's look at the fun stuff. How might you meet this person? Oh, interesting. We finally have something other than pentacles here, and we've got water, we have cups, and it's the King of Cups of all people. So how might you meet this person? Immediately what comes up for King of Cups and how you might meet them, it's a little bit vague because I was hoping that we'd get a card that might give a little bit more context. But immediately it's when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you open up. I do find that these two energies, your energy and your person's, while you're committed to your investments and you want to invest in relationships, you might be the type of people that sometimes struggle to bring the emotion into it and acknowledge your emotions because you're so focused on the goal, not realizing that stopping and feeling those emotions and letting them lead you is what's going to bring you closer to the goal, especially when we're talking about relationships. And speaking of that, following your heart. I know. It's so cliche, but following your heart, and what I'm getting from this is not just following your heart when it comes to is this the right person and the right time, but if you're getting called to do something, whether it's related to finding your person or not, is it possible that it is? Maybe you're getting the nudge to be somewhere to do something specific because you're going to meet that person. And you never know until you allow yourself to try, to take a deeper look, or to put yourself out there more. And even if it's not like, oh, I'm getting called to go to this event and oh, bam, I met my person. Maybe it's more so about you get more involved in different things that you've been intuitively pulled to do, and you meet more people and you put yourself out there in that way, and then you have more people on your side thinking about, oh, Sasha looking for someone and so that I know would be perfect for them. So you're building more opportunity in some way to meet that person. It's entirely possible that this card is speaking to spaces where you are allowing yourself to be a little bit more emotionally vulnerable. This could look like, just based on the picture alone, it could look like a meditation retreat or something like that, or you go on vacation to just kind of decompress and to connect back in with yourself, and bam, you meet that person. You make that connection. One more tarot card. Just what else do we need to know? I had to adjust all of the cards there to fit this last card on, and as I was saying, the question that I was asking, is there anything else we need to know about this connection and how it might take place? And of course, when we're doing a broad reading, it's probably going to give us a broad answer. But Hierophant actually gave me a bit of context here. So, because the Hierophant can be a spiritual leader, it might mean that you are going to meet this person in church or in a spiritual gathering of some sort, depending on what your beliefs are. It could also be some sort of mentor or teacher, not necessarily that you are going to be the mentor or teacher or they are and that's how you meet, but that it could be around a spiritual retreat or something like that, or a meditation retreat, yoga retreat, anytime that you might be going to decompress or something like that. That's what it's feeling like for group 1 and this energy. And also, I'm getting a strong message that you're going to know that this is the person by the fact that there's just some way that you connect where you feel like you're opened up by communicating with them, by connecting with them, and they express the same for you. The other thing that I would say is the Hierophant is also really about structure. So I'm seeing that, and tradition. So I'm seeing that this relationship really is built on that strong foundation. That's what both of you are seeking, is to build a strong foundation for a relationship that has longevity, and you're willing to put in the work to do so. But that's not to say that there aren't going to be challenges along the way. So I think that I've said what needs to be said there. It's getting a little bit repetitive. So I want to check in now with your inner child, because I almost always read on inner child. This is an inner child oracle deck specifically when we're doing any sort of relationship reading, because our inner child is holding all of the knowledge about what we believe, or most of the knowledge about what we believe about ourselves and relationships, and our ability to give and receive love. Whoops, we do have one that flipped out here, so let's look at it. Flow with the rhythm. Get lost in the rhythm of movement today. Ooh, interesting. Maybe that's the activity that we've, as I'm dancing while I'm recording this, maybe that's the activity that is opening you up with more vulnerability, where you can actually meet either people that can help you connect with the one, or they might be there themselves. I think we even talked about yoga and things like that. Obviously, in this card, it looks like they're dancing. They might even be playing instruments. Nope, that's not an instrument. But they're dancing. There's movement. But also just remember that you don't have to push. You don't have to do anything but open yourself up to this possibility that the person is coming in, and to say yes to things that feel good to you, that might open up more opportunities. Dance a little bit. Okay? Have fun with life. Your inner child really wants you to. Ooh, okay, this is really interesting. And the placement of it, putting it on the King of Cups as well as the Hierophant, which they're both very knowledgeable and very balanced in the way that they communicate with people. The King of Cups is really diplomatic, and this card is saying seek guidance in this. It is time for a different perspective. Well, in this, we're talking about relationships and calling in your person, right? So maybe just being present here and listening to this reading is something that is opening up a different perspective for you. But also, what I'm getting is opening up to the people in your life that you trust about, I'm serious about finding my person now. And this is what I want. Now, be very careful about hearing too much advice and too many people's opinions. This is just about opening, right? When you're open to different perspectives, that's you opening up your energy more. And in terms of relationships, it's kind of saying don't be too rigid, because if you're too rigid, you might be shutting yourself off from really good things. Now, I feel like there's just one more from this deck. Okay, interesting. So we have disappointment is not the end. There is hope in the darkest of nights. So maybe some of you in this group have already been through a breakup, or something didn't pan out in a relationship that you really wished did. Or this could be speaking to things from the past, even from childhood, because we're talking to our inner child right now. And they're saying the disappointment isn't the end. So don't make the past mean that you're not worthy of love now, that you're not worthy of your person. But it does require taking the lessons from that, gleaning the lessons from that, and then allowing yourself to move forward anyway. Allowing yourself to put yourself out there, to open to the possibilities. If I can't say it enough, open to the possibilities, right? When our energy is closed, we are not going to call in our person. It's just not possible. You may call in someone, but it's likely not someone that is super aligned to you. I normally don't do this, but I am actually going to pull another card or two from a tarot deck, because I like to see if the energies repeat or not. And I'm leaving it open to what needs to come through. So no repeating energies, but we have the Page of Wands. And this feels heart-led. It feels like taking that action, like we talked about, when you feel like it's time to do something new, to try something, to put yourself out there, do it. No questioning, no second guessing that, okay? And there could be some passion in this relationship. Well, here she is, sort of repeating energy. She's up right now, but we've got the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles, in terms of love and relationships, the main thing that I'm getting is gratitude. Gratitude for each other. So when you meet this person, or even gratitude for the journey to them, right? When you meet them, showing that gratitude, especially because of what was already talked about when it comes to one or both of you might have an energy of having to prove yourself, and your self-worth might be really tied in what you do to provide, or just in giving and receiving love and your ability to do that. So Nine of Pentacles is saying, number one, show gratitude for the journey to yourself and to your partner, but also celebrate your own independence, your own ability to go the path alone, but the fact that because you've been so independent, and likely your partner has too, it's time to give yourself the gift of being able to work together, being able to bask in the success of each other and the relationship. And like I said, the Page of Wands, the main message that's coming through with that one for me is that it's important to be open. That's really, be open, because there's going to be new coming in, new inspiration, new opportunities, new ways of connecting. And also there could be a little bit of passion in the relationship itself, a little bit of fire. Let me know what you think about this reading. Group number 1, does it resonate? How do you feel about it? And I'll see you soon. Hey, group 2, this is your reading. If you chose this deck, as well as that pyrite crystal up there, and this is who's coming in, specifically who is coming in terms of love. So this is for people looking for new love or new relationships of the romantic nature. And the first question I'm asking is to see a card on the energy of or personality of that person, so that you know who they are when you come across them. All right, interesting. So the energy that your person is represented by is the Nine of Cups. So this person is going to probably be very optimistic. I wouldn't be surprised if their energy pulls you as well as others in a little bit. They might be sort of the Susie Sunshine type of energy, or it could be a little bit more subtle. And this doesn't mean that they are male or female. That's just the term that I felt called to use there. But this person's strong suit is the ability to see the bright side of things, and is maybe sometimes to the excess overly optimistic, but can be like this really positive influence on people because of that. It's easy to default to the negative, and once you're there, it's hard to pull yourself out of that, you meaning anyone. So this person is going to feel like you're going to feel really good in their presence. You might feel like automatically pulled into them. On the other side of that, though, the Nine of Cups person is somebody that's probably pretty successful and lives a life of luxury. They might travel a lot, or just have a really nice home, really beautiful home, and really comfort level. And that can sometimes rub people the wrong way. So even though you might be drawn to them, there might be something about them that can also feel repelling, especially if they're coming off overconfident, or even a little bit on the smug side. What that energy actually is, what this person actually is proud. They're proud of their achievements, and they have no problem sharing them. Now, this is a good sign that your relationship could be full of love and contentment, and that you'll be really satisfied in the relationship. The Nine of Cups energy is really excited about life and likes to have fun. So this person is probably someone, not only are they optimistic and possibly kind of bubbly, but they like to have a lot of fun. And because of that, the one potential thing that could be a detriment to the relationship is they may or may not be up for a long-term relationship. It doesn't mean that it can't progress into that, but they're in it for the now. They're in it for the fun, and they like a little bit of adventure. They like not having too much commitment and going with the flow of things and just really having a good time. So it's not that they won't be reliable or anything like that, but they don't necessarily, they're maybe not the person that wants a ton of definitions and titles and rules and things like that right off the bat. All right, so let's see what else we need to know about them or this connection. Ooh, interesting. So we've got the Empress as well, and the Empress is our nurturer, our divine mother. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that I am reading on a female partner, but somebody who is in touch with their feminine energy. So they are open to receiving what this relationship is here to provide them, but they're also somebody who is going to nurture that, somebody who values nurturing the relationship. And again, their energy is very abundant. You feel good in their presence, and it feels like a big energy. I'm hearing I'm just the person that's able to bring life to things. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm just the type of person that's able to bring life to things. Now, that doesn't, again, necessarily mean literal life, even though the Empress can mean divine mother. She can birth people into the world. So, this, if you are looking for a female partner or somebody who can bring children into your life, I guess that could also be somebody who has children with another partner or something like that. But if you're looking for a partner that's going to bring more people into your life, this could potentially be that partner. However, it's also more so about they are the life of the party type of energy. They're outgoing, but sometimes a little bit more reserved. It just really depends. But they are going to nurture the relationships that are important to them. And they are about love and compassion and joy. So all of that fun energy, and they bring the life into things. That's so cool. They are also very creative, okay? They're creators. So now let's look at your energy in this relationship. Wow, okay. So your energy is represented by the worlds. So you're probably the type of person that values seeing things through, seeing things to completion, and also values success because the world is things coming full circle, cycles closing and all of that. And maybe the journey comes to an end and you come out of it with newfound understanding of yourself and of life and all of the things. You might also be somebody who's very interested in travel and very interested in the world, like think global or the world literally. And this might even be an indicator that that's how you meet your person. Maybe they are not the same nationality as you, or you meet them while you're traveling, or you share that commonality of love for travel. But you're also somebody who's probably have a lot of world knowledge. You probably bring a lot of knowledge to the table. And this doesn't necessarily mean just world knowledge, but I'm feeling like you're probably the type of person that has been through it all or learned it all, and you bring a lot of that. And I feel for the relationship with this person, this can be really exciting and a really good connection because this person is all about the adventure of life. And so are you in some ways, even though it might be more in a structured way and more of a commitment to see things to the end. Whereas the Nine of Cups energy isn't necessarily about that. They are successful, but they're a little bit more free flowing with it. You both nurture the creations and the things in your life that are important to you, though. So if you put the relationship in the forefront, it's going to be really good. Again, I'm feeling like in terms of the relationship specifically, you might be able to really deepen that connection through travel, whether it's how you meet or once you're together, some little trips, even if they're just road trips to a nearby town or something like that. Something about the travel is really exciting for both of you. I'm hearing don't take yourself so seriously. So if you're the type of person, group two, that is a little bit overly serious about the relationship. And if you're the type of person that wants to see things to the end, well, in a relationship, that might mean I'm only putting the time in if I see that it's worth it. And so for some people, it's only worth it if you see that it's probably going to end in marriage and a family and things like that. And remember, the Nine of Cups may or may not be there. They are likely optimistic about it and willing to talk about it and communicate and have fun with it, but they don't necessarily want to be tied to any specific expectation right off the bat. So just be aware of that, of opening those lines of communication, and don't edit yourself. Don't hold back from sharing if that's you, if that's something that you really want and you don't want to waste your time dating, quote unquote, because I don't think there's a waste there. Just be upfront about that, but try not to be too rigid in it. Okay, so the next question that I'm going to ask is, can we get any information on how you might meet this person? I've already said one thing, traveling, but let's see what else comes up. So, what I'm gathering from this, there is a little bit of that travel energy coming in with the Two of Wands. I also would say taking risks or putting yourself out there in some way, maybe some way that is unusual to you, could potentially bring this person in. Also, I'm getting broaden your search a little bit. So don't be too close to the opportunities of either physically broadening it, meaning you've got a whole world out there. And if it's true that you are somebody who enjoys travel or is well traveled, could you potentially open up to the possibility of meeting someone abroad? Now, I know that's not ideal as somebody who is married to a non American and we lived on separate continents for much of our relationship before marriage, but we have so many possibilities open to us now. And I'm really feeling like that's the main message for group 2 on what you need to know about how you meet the person is by broadening your search. This could even look like something in terms of just being open to different ways of meeting them. Like maybe you've never used a dating app before and this is your cue to do so. Or maybe you have never done speed dating, but it's come up a couple of times as a possibility and this is your cue to do so. If I'm not being clear, what I'm basically saying is you are going to meet this person when you step outside of your comfort zone a little bit more. So try not to cling to the story of how it's meant to be and try different things. And even it doesn't, I think I told this to the other group too, it doesn't necessarily have to be things with the specific goal of meeting the person, but if you're getting pulled to step out of your comfort zone, remember that's opening up your energy too. And your person is adventurous. So, as well as I think you are too, it's just you're a little bit more structured in how that takes place, and you probably want to see more so the full story, which is kind of impossible, right? So, opening up a little bit more. I think that's what I was telling the other group too, is just be open because the cards didn't want to get specific, which yes, there are some cards that I read in a very specific way when it comes to how are you going to meet the person, but this is a potentially broad reaching reading, so it's understandable that it's being a little bit vague. Now, this last question that I'm asking is what else do we need to know? And we've got the Queen of Swords is feeling like she's here just to reiterate something that I think I said earlier on in the reading about having clear communication and opening those lines of communication early on in the relationship, because it's a lot harder to do later on. This takes a bit of sometimes looking at our own shadows and being able to have conversations that are a little bit uncomfortable. So again, we're talking about stepping out of our comfort zone a little bit more, because sometimes that feedback can feel a little scary, or it actually is hard to hear, especially if this person happens to say, well, I'm not looking for anything serious right off the bat, but I want to try this. You know what I mean? It can be easily taken personally. And that's just one example. It can be taken personally, or we can feel like, well, why even bother if you don't know? But we don't really know. Yes, some people do know in a relationship. Like my grandpa, for example, the first time he met my grandma, he said to his brother, I'm going to marry her one day. And then 5 months later, he was married to her and they stayed married their whole lives. So those things do happen, but we can't really control that, right? And so opening up a little bit more, and opening to the barriers and the fears of having those conversations, as well as being able to set clear boundaries from the start. Because, like I said, it's very hard to set them later on in the relationship. The other thing would be being open to their perspective. If their energy and their belief systems are a little bit different than yours, but you want to give it a try, remember that it's okay in a relationship to not be the exact same person, to not think exactly the same way. It's how you're able to move through those times of disagreement and through those times of not seeing eye to eye, because it's really actually not as glorious in some ways as people make it out to be when you and your partner have all of the same beliefs and thoughts about things. In reality, you don't, because we're all individuals. So really, that's a sign that one or both of you are holding back from the full truth for whatever reason. Fear. Also, I guess the one other thing that I should say about the queen is she's the queen of honesty. So really focusing on setting any and all relationships that you get into, whether it feels like it's this one that I'm talking about or any, on the basis of honesty. And the only way to do that is by looking within yourself and seeing it in yourself, and then being able to clearly communicate it. This whole reading, there has been a white butterfly circling me, so I don't know if that is a sign to anyone specifically, but it definitely doesn't feel like a bad thing in terms of is somebody good coming in for group twos. All right, now we're going to do the fun part of looking at what your inner child has to say, because as I say every time, our inner child holds all of our belief systems, or most of our belief systems, around our ability to give and receive love, and our self-worth, and all of that stuff that pertains to love and relationships. All right, the first thing that your inner child wants you to hear is you can do hard things. It is not as impossible as it may feel. So if it's feeling like I'm never going to meet this person, so why try? Your inner child is saying, hey, that's not true. Don't give up, and don't let the ego get the best of you, because you're closer than you think, and it's not impossible. Just open up a little bit more. Set sail. Travel. All right, and then we have let it go. Okay, I'm sorry. I will never sing again. Can we even call that singing? I don't think so. Let it go. Let go of all that no longer serves you. So especially if you're holding on to things from the past when it comes to your ability to give and receive love, to have a healthy relationship, look at that and purge it. Purge what does not need to stay. And what is the final word from your inner child? Ah, yes. I love when this card pops up. Your inner child wants to remind you that you are worthy. You are worth it all, my love. No matter what has happened in your past, no matter what belief systems you're carrying about your worth, it's inherent. You do not have to work for it. You will not lose it. And the right person is going to see it. The problem happens when we don't see it ourselves and we don't believe it, because it doesn't even matter if the other person sees it then, because we don't believe that they do. So you remember that you are worth it all. You were born worthy. The relationship is never going to make you feel worthy, because you have to find that within yourself. All right. I'm going to do something that I normally don't do, but I like to do every once in a while, which is pull some more tarot cards from a different deck. The reason why is I'm just really curious to see if we have any repeating energies. It did happen in the last one. Okay, so we do have Nine of Wands, and I think the placement of this is brilliant over the you can do hard things and you are worthy. Feels like your inner child is still talking to us, reminding you of where you've been and how far you've come. And you know what? The song "You Don't Have to Try So Hard, You Don't Have to Give It All Away" is coming up. So again, this feels like the worth conversation. You are already worthy. It's just time to see that. It's just time to really acknowledge that within yourself and let the love flow in. I did shuffle these, I promise you, but we've got the Ten of Wands as well. So actually, you're closer than you think, but you have to make the choice. Am I going to carry all of the stuff from the past? Because carrying all of the stuff from the past is not going to help you to move into this new relationship, and it's not going to help you love yourself and see all of your worth any better than you already do. It's time to prioritize that, and it's a sign that you're almost there, right? Because we're at the 10 of Wands. So that is the end of the journey for the Wands. But are you going to step into the new with everything that you're currently carrying, or are you going to drop some things off that no longer align? Like limiting beliefs, beliefs about your self-worth, beliefs about your ability to receive love, to have a healthy relationship. This is something that is probably for just some of you, but I don't think I said it when the Queen of Wands or the Queen of Swords showed up, and now it's coming up with the Ten of Wands too. It feels like there's a little bit of doubt or fear around putting your all into a relationship and losing yourself. And it's possible that it has happened in the past, but you have grown from it. So as long as you let down the wands, just drop them off, the ones that are carrying the belief systems that you created around that you always give yourself up to the relationship, that you can't be independent and live your own life and be happy and all of that and be fulfilled if you're dependent on someone else. You don't have to be. You just have to believe, which means dropping off some of those outdated belief systems about yourself and picking up new ones. All right, I think that's all I have for group 2. It definitely looks like this relationship could be long lasting and it could be really fun. Allow yourself to flow with it. Understand that there are going to be some challenges and maybe some shadows revealing themselves, some healing within the relationship, some self-healing that is incited by this relationship. But just remember, you don't have to lose yourself, and you are already worthy. That's really the biggest message here. And have fun with this. Enjoy it. And remember that you have been through a lot. You've carried a lot with you on this journey, and it's time to take the lessons for what they are and drop off the rest. I hope this message blesses you. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about this reading, and I will see you soon. Welcome back, group 3. This is your reading for who is coming in to your life next. This is specifically romantic love life reading, and it's in the future, whether that be 5 minutes from now or 5 years. Let's see what's going on. And the first question I'm asking is, what card represents their energy, the person that you are calling in or attracting next? Oh, interesting. So this person is represented by the 8 of Pentacles. So I would say, like right off the bat, they are the type of person that really values hard work and they have a really good work ethic. They probably really like to learn and to grow in that way. And they might be very focused on becoming a master of something, a leader, an expert, or an authority in their area, but they're not quite there yet. But that's something that they definitely value. They are likely somebody as a partner who is going to be really patient and they are willing to put in the work and to build a solid foundation for the relationship. It's really interesting because in group 1, there were a lot of pentacles as well. The 8 of Pentacles didn't show up, but several others did. And this is really giving the type of person that wants to build longevity in a relationship. They are very focused and determined to create something in whatever they focus their energy on. So if they're focusing their energy on you and the relationship, trust that even if things seem like they aren't moving as fast as you would like them to, they want something serious. They want something that is going to be worth the time and energy that they're putting into it. They're just not necessarily trying to rush it. They're also probably somebody who is going to notice like the small details and things like that that often are overlooked. So it might be the small details about you or even things that you talk to them about where they might not even seem like they are listening or acknowledging everything, and yet they surprise you with your favorite dessert that you don't even remember discussing with them because maybe they didn't even acknowledge it in the conversation, but you said it nonchalantly, and the next time you see them, they have that dessert for you or something like that. Or they bring up something that you only vaguely remember talking about, like very specific details type of stuff. The potential drawback to the Eight of Pentacles person is they might be a little bit of a perfectionist or a lot of bit of a perfectionist. So just be aware of that. They might be very type A energy. And as much as they aren't necessarily pushing for things to happen fast, they might have a hard time with letting things go without seeing them to fruition. The other potential drawback is what I mentioned before. Not only are they willing to put in the time and effort into a relationship, but they probably are also the type of person that is putting a lot of effort into mastery of something or learning something and growing in that way. And sometimes they can become hyper focused on that, which could be distracting from the relationship or the communication, where you potentially could feel like you're not being heard or seen or given enough attention to, and they're not necessarily going to realize that because they're so focused. And so it will be important to have those conversations as they come up and do it in a loving way, because they're not trying to do that. It's just sometimes it can be really hard to juggle responsibilities when you're in that energy. This is a really good energy for a person, a partner, because they are willing to put in the time and energy and work toward the relationship, and they know that they're not there yet. Like, they know that they're on a journey, so they're not necessarily rushing things. They're just really putting in that effort, and likely they are somebody who wants to support you in some way. It could be through money because we're talking pentacles here, but they're somebody who wants to be seen as a valued asset in the relationship in some way. Let's see what the next card has to say. Anything else we need to know right off the bat about this person, and then we'll read your energy and connection to them. Okay, so we do have the Four of Pentacles here. So they might be somebody who is really building a strong, solid foundation for themselves and thus future relationships. Lots of stability when it comes to finances and that kind of thing, but also building a strong foundation in terms of house and things like that. But the one thing to be aware of is they could be doing this because they are fearful of what it means if they're not putting all of that time and energy. They want to be successful. They want to show their value, and they might be clinging to those coins, those pentacles a little bit, because they are afraid that there will never be enough, or that the flow will stop coming in, or they will never be enough. So just keep that in mind, that they could be very stable as a person and very grounding, but pay attention to where that might be wavering a little bit, and if they're maybe actually trying to prove themselves so they can prove to themselves that they're worthy. Now we're going to look at your energy, specifically in this relationship. Ooh, okay. Okay, Queen. You don't have to take it for face value if you're a male. Doesn't matter, but this is your energy towards this relationship. So you are somebody who is willing to nurture the relationship and put the time and energy into it as well. And that is so beautiful, okay? You might be somebody who has a little bit more lived experience or a little bit more knowledge than this person over here. And in that way, I don't want this to sound like an odd dynamic, because I don't mean it that way, but they might even look up to you or be in awe of you in some ways because of how you carry yourself or the things that you've learned. And they might even strive a little bit to be you in some ways. And I don't mean that in a creepy way that it's kind of coming across. Like, the connection feels good as long as you aren't both focused on lack, because we are talking all pentacles again here, which is a good thing, as long as there's not this over focus on money and physical things, and more focus on how to build a strong and secure life and relationship. This definitely feels like it could be a long-lasting relationship. Again, this could mean, this card in between the two of you could mean that you're building a really stable foundation. You're building a really strong relationship that is stable and grounded. I would say that you're both very practical and both focused, you specifically, because the Queen of Pentacles, are focused on building family and creating a safe and secure home life for that family and supporting in that way, as well as you can be supporting financially as well. You're not the type of person that relies on the other person, your partner, to provide, because you're also so capable of providing for your family and for the people that matter to you. So I feel like it's quite mutual in that way. However, because the Eight of Pentacles person is still moving up to that, they may feel in some ways a little bit insecure, even though they're a little bit in awe of you as well and everything that you've accomplished. Just be aware of any warning signs where they might be feeling a little bit insecure about their own status versus yours, because they're still working toward it and you're kind of already there in their eyes and maybe your own, because the Queen of Pentacles comes with an air of confidence of, hey, I've got this. I already have more than enough and I know how to create more. And the other thing that I want to point out about you being the Queen of Pentacles, group threes, you're probably the type of person who really likes to put their all in the relationship. You like to support your partner in any way that you can, whether it be financially, emotionally, maybe even by taking care of the home or making sure a good meal is in their stomach, and that's something that you actually get joy from, and investing in that way. And that's awesome. Keep doing you, but also pay attention to if your partner feels like they're withdrawing at all. There may need to be a conversation there about worth and what they're thinking and feeling, because there could be some feeling of inadequacy because they're not there yet. One thing that I would say for caution for you as the person represented by the Queen of Pentacles is make sure that you're not trying to force it, meaning you're putting like way too much effort in because that's just your natural way of being, and not allowing your partner to rise to the occasion because they likely want to put the time and energy in and feel worthy as well. That's how maybe some reservations, some closing of the energy might happen, is if they feel that inadequacy. So invite them to also contribute. Even maybe offer them things that would be helpful to you if they put some time and energy to that. And that might actually make them feel more valued in the long run. All right, so the next card that I'm going to pull is how might you meet your person? And the cards have been vague for the other two groups. We'll see if we get one of the cards that is pretty self-explanatory, at least in my mind, of ways that you might meet. Okay, so we have the Two of Cups. Right off the bat, I'm feeling like you could meet that person at something like a wedding or a wedding anniversary, something where there's a celebration of a couple. I guess that would usually be the two things, or some kind of divine union type thing. But the other thing that's coming up is a little bit more vague, a little bit more woo-woo, but as far as not so much the where or the how, like the specific how, but putting a little bit more trust in working with the universe, God, source, your higher self, whatever resonates with you, and really putting that out there that I'm open for this relationship. I want this. Please help align me to them. The other thing that I'm getting, because partnerships is really strong in this card, is possibly meeting them through a partner. Now, I'm not talking about through your current partner if you're in a relationship that you don't feel is going to last, but if you have a business partner or something like that, like there's some sort of partnering going on, maybe working with a friend or family member, a loved one, telling them, like, it's time. I really am committed to finding someone and letting them help you do that. But there's something about like opening up to that vulnerability of asking for help or working in unison with somebody else to make it happen. If I were going to say like where I feel intuitively, as well as what this card means, that you could potentially meet someone, it feels like a wedding, an anniversary, or it's also feeling like, in terms of the partnership thing, it's potential that you already know this person. They've been a friend in the past or something. This isn't what the card means necessarily, but there's this energy of something from the past or someone from the past coming back up, and I'm not 100% sure if it means that you will be dating the person from the past or if the person from the past has a connection to this person. But that feels like it's valid for some of you in this group. Okay, so the final tarot card that I'm going to pull for you right now is just any parting messages the cards want to give us in regards to this relationship, this union. Oh, that's beautiful. We're rounding it out with the Six of Pentacles. And this makes a lot of sense given what we've already said, what has already been read about making sure that there's a balance of give and take in the relationship. And that's any of your resources, time, money, or energy. And checking in with each other on that instead of building a relationship based on potential resentment and things like that. Actually allow yourself to have those conversations if it feels like there's something out of balance, if there's a level of am I putting too much or why aren't you putting enough, or there's feelings of I wish there was more of this or I wish there was less of this. Because remember, I did talk about one potential issue could be that your partner is a little bit focused on other things, and so sometimes they might not realize that you are feeling neglected in communication or something like that, or time and energy put towards the relationship, even though they are the type of person that wants to put a lot of energy in it, and they can be really focused on doing so if that's something that they truly want in their life. So just having those conversations, because there is a really good potential of having the really balanced give and take, and that looks different for everyone. It's not really specifically like I did this thing so you have to do the equal thing. It's really about what works for you as a couple and what each of you needs, and are those needs being met, are they being heard, are they being honored, and that sort of thing. And if you feel like you're putting too much in, or they feel like that, or vice versa, whatever, are you addressing that? Because this really has, like I said, this potential. I really like these two energies together. Of this has the potential of longevity. It has a potential of being really balanced and grounded and having a deepening connection and a loving connection. But again, be aware of where either of you might be pulling back to protect yourselves, or where you are not giving because of like I want, like this means a lot to me, I want to put this energy in, but it's more so of an insecurity of if I don't, then are they going to find me worthy, are they going to stay with me, that sort of thing, right? All right, so the next thing we're going to look into is inner child. I say this in every reading about relationships, that we have to look at the inner child next and see what they have to say, because our inner child holds so much, if not all of our beliefs about our ability to give and receive love and our self-worth and all of that stuff, because they're formed in childhood. So first off, your inner child wants you to know to pull yourself close. Every part of your being is deserving of love. So if you were doubting that at all, your inner child wants to remind you that no matter what you've been through, what experiences you've had that have potentially made you question and create belief systems around I am not worthy of love, that is simply not true. Every part of your being is deserving of love, and you just have to believe it. All right. Next card. Oh, okay. It's okay to be misunderstood. Perception is not always based on the truth. So you might both be very set in your ways and your perspectives, your beliefs about life. So just be aware of the fact that it's totally okay if you don't see eye to eye. I think I told this to another group too, and it's coming up again, of do you really want to be in a relationship where you agree on everything? Because chances are, if you're agreeing on everything, then no, you're not. Like, that's pretty much impossible. First of all, it's kind of boring. Second of all, yes, I believe that if you have the same core values and things like that, that's important for a relationship. You don't have the exact same beliefs and thoughts as another person. And so again, boring, but also if you're not able to express that out of fear of the person's going to leave me or judge me or get mad or whatever, then that's not really a solid and healthy relationship. remember that perception is not always based on the truth. The other part of this card, when we're talking about relationships, your inner child is reminding you that your ego might be telling you stories about what the other person thinks, feels, or believes about you. And that's likely not true, especially if your ego is telling you like really nasty stories. That's really just the ego trying to keep you safe in the most uncomfortable way possible. Just check yourself when you are telling yourself a story about whether or not you're worthy of the relationship, or if you're seeing signs of that in the other person. Ooh, I like this one. Okay, so your final message from your inner child when it comes to this relationship is run wild. Let your inner wild child run forth. So have a little bit more fun. Your inner child's like, hey, don't take this too seriously. I see you. I see how hard you've been working and how dedicated you are. But it's time to open up. I've said this in every group, but it's coming up again. Open up. Have more fun. Bring more joy in. Because when you are living in this energy of joy and adventure and not being too serious with life, that opens up your energy so other people can experience it and be drawn to you as well. Not only that, but it could open up possibilities to meet that person. So with that, I've told every group this as well. I'm doing something I don't do very often, which is reading from another tarot deck. I just got this deck a few days ago, and I like to see if any of the cards repeat themselves. We did have one in the first reading. So far not, but look at this. We've got the Emperor. Immediately with the Emperor, when it comes to relationships and love, there's another reiteration of the value of stability and putting the time and effort in, as well as structure and tradition. And I would say that the Pentacles, because there's been a lot of Pentacles, are really about tradition in a lot of ways as well. So this relationship, while it doesn't have to look traditional on paper, there is something to be valued around looking at it in that way and structuring it and being able to not only be the person in the relationship that is standing proud and being able to support the other person, but also knowing when they want to embody some more of the Emperor energy and being willing to step back and allow them to do that too. Also, I just can't help but say the Emperor is really the father figure. So it doesn't have to go this way, but just reading it from like a traditional family or traditional relationship standpoint, there's the divine feminine energy, which is in this case the Queen of Pentacles, and then there's the divine masculine energy, in this case the Emperor. So we're talking father and mother energy and building a family and that sort of thing. Again, that doesn't have to apply to everyone, but there is this emphasis on structure and tradition. Ooh. And then we have the Eight of Wands. So I'm going to say that there's a couple things popping up with this card and the reading. There's been a lot of Pentacles, which isn't really so much a fast-moving energy, and yet the Eight of Wands is, or it can be. So once you meet this person, there's a potential that things do move a little bit quicker than either of you are expecting. The other thing, though, is this is your cue to get moving, to do something, to take some action to help open up the possibility of letting this person in. Are you open to meeting this person? Are you ready for it? And I just want to highlight the first word on this card, which is alignment. This is a good sign that this relationship actually is in alignment with your highest good. Now, does that necessarily mean that it's going to last forever? No, I can't say that. However, there is a lot of evidence pointing to the possibility that it could. Like, there's a large possibility it could be long-lasting, even life-lasting. And there's an emphasis on family and building that as well. And there's a bird that you can probably hear that's confirming that for me. So with that said, I hope this message blesses you. Good luck to you, group number 3, and let me know how you're feeling about this reading. Is it resonating? Do you know what person I'm talking about? And all of the things. I'll see you soon.